We are welcoming Gemma Fontané. While she gets settled, I just want to quickly tell you a few things about her. She's an SEO consultant. She's the co-founder and managing partner of Orbit Digital, which she founded 1 year ago alongside her partner, year and a half, and they already have 5 people and a bunch of amazing B2B clients. She is an amazing, not only consultant, but also agency founder and managing partner. So a round of applause for her. Love it. In recent years, as a speaker, she has spoken at industry-leading conferences at different countries and cities, like Friends of Search, Brighton SEO, a bunch of others that you can see on her bio. She also teaches digital marketing for professional schools and companies. And if memory serves me right, because this is not in your bio, you also used to teach at university as well, right? Yeah, amazing person to be taught by. She collaborates with different media, including most recognized American portals worldwide, and she also contributes to places like Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journals. And also, just to tell you something like a fun fact for all of our lectures, there will be one fun fact that you can use as an icebreaker after the conference to start some conversations. The fun fact for Gemma is that she, alongside all of the amazing stuff that she does in her professional life, she also has another professional thing that I consider super impressive. She has an e-commerce shop that sells Catalan products for Christmas. And I encourage you to check it out. It's dendal.cat, and you can see the product and you can ask her about them after the talk. So she will be teaching us about GA4.
Well, first of all, thank you for your kind and nice words. I'm really happy to be here. I hope that my talk is very useful for all of you. And if you have any questions or anything, after we can talk and chat and discuss everything. Let's go. I'm going to unlock GA4 for multi-marketing, for multi-channel marketing success. So let's go. Let's start from the beginning. What happened? 3-4 years ago, we were used to work with Universal Analytics. I don't know if some of you already work with this Google Analytics platform, basically. But some years ago, they said, okay, we are going to change a little bit everything, and they introduced GA4. So what happened here? Barry Schwartz, he's like one of the top leaders within the SEO industry. He did this poll like, oh, are you enjoying GA4? Do you like it? And well, most of the people actually didn't like it at all. And basically everybody most of the people hate it. And if you talk a little bit with people in the industry, either if they are, from around the world, people are not very happy. And on a part, I can understand that. Why? Because honestly, if you don't set it up correctly, if you don't know how to use or set up GA4, honestly, it can be very useless. I mean, the results that you have, they are not right. The data that you analyze is no good, so you cannot come to proper conclusions for your clients, and it's definitely not worth it. However, if you manage to understand how this works and you actually set it up in a proper way for your clients, you honestly can have really valuable data that can be useful for your marketing strategies. So how to properly analyze and recollect data for companies in GA4? Today I'm trying to unlock GA4 for multi-marketing success. So let's go. Let's start from the beginning. First of all, I would like to dive a little bit into the GA4 key concepts, so we are all, on the same level, and you know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you already use GA4 a lot, but just in case, GA4 is organized in different kind of reports. So depending on what you want to analyze, you will need to analyze some report or some others. Basically, on the reports, we have like 3 big reports. One is acquisition reports, where here we can analyze how we acquire users on our website, either if they come from some source, some medium. This is how we acquire them, okay? And this will help us to understand if they come for a paid campaign, from a social channel, if they come from organic channels, whatever. So here we will analyze this. But sometimes it's not enough to know where our traffic comes from. We want to know what they do when they are on our website. We want to know how they interact with our website, either if they, I don't know, submitted a form, or maybe how time they spend on a page. So here you will have the engagement report. The engagement report, which we'll see later, it's very important to set it up properly, will help us basically to analyze how users interact with our website. And finally, there is also another important report, that's monetization report. The monetization report, it's very specific for e-commerce sites. So if you work in B2B or services, this not be very useful for you. However, if you sell through your website, this will be a key report for you. However, in a new GA4 account, I show this to you, but if you now you say, okay, I will install this to my website and I will start analyzing which products users buy from my website or how they interact, I don't know, with my content. If we just set up a GA4 account, all of this will be empty. All this data, we won't have it. So here it's why maybe sometimes people are not very happy with GA4 because they go there and it's like, oh, but it's not working. This data, I cannot analyze anything in a proper way. However, some features need to be set up depending on our KPIs. So here I will give you, I don't want to talk today about the initial setup on GA4, but I will leave you a template here. So if you just start a new GA4 account, you can come here and check all you need to set up. These are only the basics in order to start recollecting the data in a proper way. However, with this, it won't be enough. I mean, we can, connect our GA4 with Google Ads. We can say, collect all the data in a proper way. But with that, it won't be enough. We not only need to analyze the traffic that we acquire on a proper way, we also need to track the interactions that happen on our website. And I think this is like the most important thing when you work with GA4. You need to analyze not only the traffic that you acquire and the users, but analyze the interactions that you have on your website. So I would like to talk, before going deeper into the talk, about events and key events. What are events? Events, for me, is like one of the most important things on GA4, and they were also on Universal Analytics. And basically, events are things that happen on our website. What are things that happen on our website? Which kind of interactions can happen on our website that they are interesting for us? So, for example, the events is like when a user view a page, or when a user also, for example, adds something to the cart. When a user adds something to the cart, something is happening in my website, and maybe I want to track that. What else can happen to my site? So, for example, somebody can add a product to the wish list, or somebody can look into the browser and search for a product, or someone can purchase a product, or someone can submit a form. All of these are the events, basically things that happen in my website. And which are key events? Key events are these things that happen in my website that they are a priority for my business, okay? What can it be a priority for my business? For example, if I work in an e-commerce, it can be when somebody adds something to the cart or when they purchase a product. However, if I work on a B2B company, maybe it's when somebody calls me, when they click on the phone, or maybe when they submit a form, or maybe when they download a guide or a PDF of my catalog. So that's very important to track it and to analyze it in a really, really proper way. How these events are classified on GA4? That's very important to know, because if we don't know how they are classified, we are not going to track it in a proper way. So basically, if now we are setting a GA4 account, it's important to know that we have some automatically collected events. These ones is like when you set up a GA4 account, Google gives this to you. So for example, if somebody views a page, it will be already tracked down. Okay, you don't need to do anything. However, these are like very basic events, very basic interactions that happen on a site. If you want to go deeper, for example, if you want to analyze how a user scroll on a page, for example, if we want to see if a user, when they scroll down and they go deeper on the page, of if somebody downloads a file or if somebody reproduces a video, then these are enhanced measurement events, and these events we just need, they are not automatically collected, but we need to say, hey, Google, I want you to track this too. Okay, so that's another category of events and things that can happen on a site. However, with this, usually it's not enough, and that's why sometimes people is like, I don't like GA4 because they don't track more things that they are interesting for my company, because maybe I want to know all of this. When somebody logs inside my website, or when somebody adds a product to the cart. All of these can be important too. So these are recommended events, and these are some events that Google say, hey, maybe these are good for you, but we are not setting this up automatically. You need to set them up, okay? So here it's when you go to Google Tag Manager and you need to create these ones depending on different features. So when something happens, this can be triggered, and then this event will be recorded on your GA4 account. And last but not least, we have custom events. These are the ones that you set on your own and nobody recommends this to you. For example, in my site, it's very important to track when somebody clicks on the phone, and they call me. So this is a custom event because nobody recommends this to me, but I think it's important, so I created this also via Google Tag Manager, for example. So with that, why is this very important? Because now it's not just a GA4 account where we can analyze the traffic that comes there, but where we can analyze the interactions that happen on our site and know, for example, that the people that usually purchase a product in my site come from a Facebook campaign. And I thought, oh, but Facebook, maybe it's not working anymore. But here I can see that there is not only a lot of traffic that comes from a channel, but I can analyze that, oh, okay, but this traffic, maybe it's more quality because people that come from here buys more. So that's why it's very important to set all this up. However, we can go still deeper in order to analyze all of this. What happens if we just not want to know how many people purchase a product, but we want to know which ones? Okay, maybe we want to know from all of this, we want to know how many people bought the Christmas jumper because it's Christmas and we want to analyze how this product works. Here are the parameters. Parameters is something that basically it's not very set up automatically by Google, but these basically are some features that provide more information about events. What are these features? So for example, we have automatically collected parameters, and these are some features that say, okay, this person that purchased this did it in that page. Okay, so these parameters help us to analyze not only which product somebody purchased, but which page is it. So then we can analyze, okay, so they bought this jumper. So it's very important to do this. And also not only the automatical ones, there are also the custom parameters, so we can still go deep and deeper to analyze exactly what's happening on my site. So I really recommend you to analyze everything related to events and parameters because this will be very helpful to actually analyze how our campaigns are performing, okay? Basically because most of them are custom and you need to do it via Google Tag Manager. But well, I just wanted to point that out because it's very important when we want to analyze campaigns. Okay, so with all of this, then we will not only know which products the user bought, but exactly which ones. How many, but exactly which ones. And then we can analyze exactly how my campaigns are performing, which products are basically performing better. Okay, and last but not least, then we can analyze all of this with the exploration reports that will help us to analyze all the journey and how this works. So with this introduction, now I'm going to tell you how to use all of this depending on the channel that you work. Okay, so let's start for SEO because I come from SEO and it's like kind of my favorite one, but I will try to give you tips on how to analyze and take the most out of GA4 depending on the channel, okay? So, for example, if you work for SEO and you do SEO, the first thing that you need to do on GA4 is set up Google Search Console reports. Before, on Universal Analytics, Google Search Console reports were displayed by default. But now, if you want to analyze all the Google Search Console data, you need to set it up. And maybe you will ask, why this happens, why it's not set up by default? I don't know it, but you just need to go to the library and say, hey, this report, publish it. So then the report will be published, and you can analyze all the data that you have on Google Search Console, also here on GA4. So it will be easier for you, and you will have everything on the same report, so you don't need to go from Google Search Console to GA4. Everything will be here, and basically you have the same reports that you have there in order to analyze clicks, impression, click-through rate, and average position on Google here, okay? So if you work in SEO, I will really recommend you to do that. But not only that. On GA4, you can analyze your website's organic traffic in a really deep, proper way. For example, when we go to acquisition report, this is the report that shows us how we acquire users. We can, for example, filter by medium and source. So here we can analyze not only the organic traffic that we have, but from which source they come from. For example, we can analyze here that most of the traffic comes from Google, but maybe some comes from Baidu. This is like the browser you use most in China, for example. So here we can analyze in a more in-depth way how the organic traffic is performing and which one we are acquiring. But which are events that will help analyze the SEO performance on our website? So here I will recommend you to use these ones. For example, events are, if we remember, things that happen that they are interesting in my website. So for example, if you work in SEO, it will be really interesting for you to analyze form submissions, leads that you generate on your site, purchases, and you can go there on the engagement report and analyze, okay, all these forms, where they come from? They come from organic traffic, from which source or medium? They come from Google. Okay, how is this performing on my website? Which is the conversion rate? How many people that come from the organic channels are at the end converting in my website? So you can analyze all of this there. And not only that, you can still go deeper with events and converge with events on GA4 and analyze, for example, you know when a site, an e-commerce, you have a browser here and you look for a product? Yeah, for example, black jumper, okay? So then you can go on GA4 and with the search result event, you can analyze which kind of words users looked into your browser, okay? So then, for example, you can create a report and say, okay, backpack. For example, people from United States, they are looking more for a backpack, and people from Canada, they are looking more for, I don't know, woman tech makers. So with this, if we can analyze all of this, maybe we'll realize that, for example, people in the US are more interested in tech products in our site, and people from Canada are more interested in, I don't know, animal products or animal jumpers. So then we can adapt our website in a SEO perspective depending on this. That's why it's very important to know actually what's important for you and create all the events that will be really a game changer for your business. Okay? But I'm not here to only talk about SEO. I will also give you some tips for if you work in content marketing. Okay? If you work in content marketing, your must go-to report are these ones: the landing page report and the page and screen report. Why? Because these reports are the ones that are going to show how your pages are performing, okay? You can go, for example, in the landing page report and analyze each individual page and see how this is performing, okay? And now I'm going to try to share how to analyze that, okay? Let's do it here. For example, key metrics to analyze content marketing performance. On GA4, we can not only analyze sessions that are users that basically stay at least 10 seconds on our page and they interact a little bit, but we can also analyze, for example, engaged sessions. Engaged session is a session that not only a user came into our site, but they stay at least 10 seconds or they trigger one of our key events. For example, somebody that came on our page and add to the cart a product. If this was a key event for me, this will be an engaged session. That's very important to differentiate sessions and engaged sessions because this will help us to analyze how our content or our products are performing in a more proper way. Okay? Some other metrics, bounce rate. Bounce rate, at the beginning, people were like, oh, GA4 is not including this. Yes, it is. So you can also analyze the people that come to your website and they leave very fast. Okay? This will help you to go to conclusions and see if the content or the campaigns are actually performing in a good or proper way or not. Average engagement time per session, you can analyze how many times users are staying in each page. So for example, if you have a blog, you can analyze if they are interested on your topic or not, depending on the campaign, on the channel they come from, etc. And yeah, well, this was an example. And also you have a column of a metrics of key events. So for example, you can analyze page per page on this landing page report and say, okay, this page, they are triggering this number of key events. So now, for example, if you have different important key events on your pages, you can analyze which ones are performing better or worse. And then say, okay, so next month, maybe I'm going to prioritize these ones to make them better. Okay, and last but not least, the conversion rate of this. So for example, here on a blog, you can say, okay, all of these can be key events for me. Which ones are more top priority for me? So well, it will depend, especially if you work for an e-commerce, a B2B company, a newspaper, but it's very important in content marketing to analyze all of this. And for example, for me in content marketing, there are 2-3 events that are very important, especially when I focus this on blogs or content that we create. On one side is, for example, a scroll. I like to see how a scroll down on a page users go, because especially if it's content that, I don't know, pages with a lot of information that can be useful for them, I want to analyze this. And also, for example, for newspaper or blogs, I also like to track how many shares they have, especially in this case, it's more like for PR campaigns sometimes, but also it's an event that I will recommend you to track. And, why is this very important? Because this will help us also to analyze how the user journey on our website. We can also analyze this on content marketing via GA4 through path exploration reports. There is a place where we can track how users go from one page to another and which events they are triggering in each page. So this is very important on content marketing, so we understand user journey on our site. But that's not all I want to share today. Also, GA4, it's key for GA4 campaigns. And not only because you can analyze the traffic that comes from paid campaigns on your site via the acquisition report, as I showed before, for other channels, but also because there is the advertising report. There is a report for everything related to Google Ads. So if you work on Google Ads, you really need to set this up, so you will have all your data here. But that it's not still the most important part here, as the most important part here is setting up audiences. So if you work on Google Ads, it's very, very important to set up audiences on GA4. And what are audiences? Audiences basically are, it depends on each website and each company, but are basically users that share same interests or same things that are important for you. For example, we can do an audience of people that purchase or people that didn't purchase a product. We can do audiences depending on the country of the users. We can do audiences depending on the age of the user. We can do audiences depending on whatever, okay? And this is important. Well, here I show you how to do it. But this is not important only because this will help us to analyze, for example, how users from US interact versus users from Canada, but also because this will be a key factor for our Google Ads campaigns. Why? Because thanks to audiences, we can do, for example, remarketing or create lookalike audiences. And what's remarketing? How we can create these audiences for remarketing? For example, I can create an audience of people that add a product to the cart, but they didn't purchase. So this kind of audience is people that it's very interested on my product, but they didn't purchase the product. So they are here, like at the end of the funnel, but they didn't purchase. So then I can create a campaign focused only to that users. That's why on GA4, it's very important to link this with Google Ads, because then we can create this kind of audiences that will be key for our campaigns. Last but not least, GA4 for social media, it's very similar to Google Ads, especially with all the audiences and everything. But also, I will really recommend you to use GA4 and not only, for example, Facebook data or Instagram data or Twitter data, because here you can compare and analyze your organic social channels, your paid social channels through the others, and analyze at the end of the day, for example, the conversion rates, if users are purchasing more through social channels or not, and this honestly can be really useful for your strategies. Some events I recommend you to track: leads that come from social media, clicks also from our site to social media. That's very interesting too. So basically, I think I said a lot of things, but to sum up a little bit, I think that GA4 honestly can be a game changer for your strategies. However, if you don't set it up properly, if you don't track all the events, your key events, you don't set up parameters, you cannot track and know all the magic that GA4 actually offers to you. But if we actually know what we want, we set up correctly, we can analyze and come to to great conclusions that can be very useful for us. So thank you.